There is one craft supply that I didn't have when I started crafting that now I feel like I can't live without. Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Keppel. In today's video, I'm going to share that one craft supply with you. And it happens to be my glass mat from Glassboard Studio. Over the years, I've tried lots of self-healing mats. I've tried different colors of mats, grays, and nothing seemed to work, and everything seemed to get so dirty that I could not eventually clean it to the point where it was unusable. And that's when I found Glassboard Studio. So I purchased a small mat, and I eventually decided that I needed a little bit larger. So I purchased a larger size. And that especially had to do with the type of crafting I was doing, but also filming videos and things like that, so that I have a bigger workspace for you to be able to see what I'm doing. But honestly, the main thing that I love about Glassboard Studio mats is that because it's glass, you can use pretty much any craft medium on it and it will clean off like a dream. I've been using them for a long time now and they don't stain. You can get adhesive off of it. You can get pretty much anything that I use in my crafting off of the mat, and it's like it's brand new still. Glassboard Studio recently reached out to me and asked if I wanted to be an affiliate, and I jumped at the chance because they're offering a 15% off coupon off your entire order at Glassboard Studio. The coupon code is Rebecca Keppel. I'll remind you in the description box under the video and at the end of the video as well. So let's just jump right in, take a look at the mat, and just demonstrate different types of mediums on it and how easily it cleans. The mat you see on top here is the 13.5 by 18. This is the second mat I bought for myself. The first mat I bought for myself was 9 by 12. It was a little too small, so I bought that second mat. I've been using that since about 2021, I'd say. Recently, Glassboard Studio sent me the mat that's underneath, but all these mats are magnetic and you can use magnets on top of them to hold things into place. They're all the true white, so you can see your colors really easily. I'm keeping that smaller mat right next to the large mat so that I can do things on the side off camera. They also have these really cool magnets. They have the smaller magnets that you can hold the corners into place, and they also have a ruler magnet that holds things into place. So the first medium that I'm using on the glass mat are alcohol markers. I'm using my Ohuhu markers, and this is a way that you can create a background just with a few markers. But the thing about it is that you have to come from off the sides of the paper, and so you can sweep all the way across the paper, side to side. That is what gives the impression of a sky. You can see that not every ounce of paper is colored in, and that gives the look of white clouds. I'll move on to a slightly darker blue for my sea, but you'll also want a few white spaces there. Those are the waves. And then the last one I'll use is kind of a light tan color. That'll be the sand. And I'll go back in and add additional color as things dry. They do lighten up a little bit, so I like to go back in and add extra color and make everything blend together in between. So coloring from the sides onto the paper is how it gets that nice smooth look, but you want to clean it off when you're done. And I learned from Tim Holtz that an easy way to clean off alcohol inks is to use hand sanitizer because it has a high percentage of alcohol right in the sanitizer, and it doesn't pool around the way that rubbing alcohol does. So a little hand sanitizer and then a towel or a rag, and you'll wipe it right up. Another medium I like to use on my glass mat is inks. So I'll roll up a piece of Spellbinder's Best Ever craft tape and hold the cardstock into place that way. For the stencils, I can hold them in place with these magnets from Glassboard Studio. These magnets are super strong and they really do hold everything in place. I like to hold onto the stencil just because some of the little spots of the stencil can kind of pick up a little bit when you're brushing, but you can see now I'm not holding the stencil at all and it's still not moving. So these magnets are really great for stenciling like this. And then I'll just remove those and peel up that stencil and put down the third stencil. These stencils are all from Pretty Pink Posh, and I'll link all of the supplies that I use in the YouTube description box under the video. I love how easy it is to remove the stencil with using the magnets because you just take the magnets off and then pick up the stencil. For distress oxide inks and other inks that are water-based or reactive to water, simply spray the glass board with water and then dry it up and pick up that ink and water with a rag or paper towel. Let's also use some sprays like Distress Spritz and Solar Sprays from Ranger from Silent Hurley and Ranger with Tim Holtz. So again, sprays, you're going to get stuff around the paper. That's just the nature of the beast there. So you definitely want to be working on a work surface that you can clean up easily. So you can see I am really going heavy-handed with these sprays. I really wanted a very ocean-themed background for the card that I'm going to make. I'll grab a little bit off the edges with a paper towel because it's just pooling on the edges there. And you can see that there is tons on the glass mat, but I am not worried about it at all. I'm not even worried if it dries, but while it's still wet, I might as well grab a piece of watercolor cardstock and dip it in that excess spray. This way it's not completely wasted, and I'll just swipe it and pick it up, and you can see I'm making more of a mess. It's getting more dry, and I'm moving it all around the glass mat to pick it up and add that second background, which I really love both of these. But still, all I need is either a wet wipe or a spritz of water and a dry cloth, and it comes right up. And you can see on the side there where it was pooling on the side, there's some more on the glass mat. I'll clean that once everything's nice and dry. So here is the other thing you can do. You can absolutely heat set on this mat. It is so thick and so sturdy, it can handle just about everything. So I even put my plates down, my glimmer plates, when they're hot, I put them on the glass mat directly and it cools them down like that, like so fast. So here I'm just spritzing a little bit of water to get a little bit of that oxidized effect or that little splatter effect. Let's use another ink and see how that goes. These are the Stellar inks from Simon Hurley for Ranger. I love these inks. I love these ink pads. It is the same formulation of his original inks. There are some new colors, and it's on a foam pad instead of the original felt pad. I love foam pads. I at first was a little nervous about using them. You have to be a little bit gentler to them. They can tear if you're too rough with them, the way that felt pads cannot. However, they make it so much easier to pick up ink on blending tools. So much easier. I find myself scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing on a felt pad, but with this ink pad, look, I'm just tapping it onto the surface and it's picking up so much ink. These are also water reactive inks, so they just come right up with a wet wipe or again, a little spritz of water and a dry cloth. So easy, even if the ink is dry, I guarantee you it just comes right up, and then I like to dry it off with another paper towel or dry cloth. I'm going to place that background that we inked right down on a piece of tape and then use those magnets again and use another Pretty Pink Posh stencil to add a different color on top. Love the blues that he has available, Simon Hurley has available in this line. They are really great. So I'll use the third stencil and add a little bit of detail with that darkest blue, and then again just wipe it right up, and you can't see anything on there. I really just love it. This is the Spellbinders Sparkle Splatter Effects, and this is a different formulation. So sometimes these do dry and you have to use actually a little bit of scrubbing to get them off, but not scrubbing with a scrub brush or anything. It's just with the same towel or whatever that I was using before. But I like to really go to town with this because it is a white or off-white sort of pearlescent color. And so you can't see it unless you really add a ton of them. And again, I'm using a little bit of that hand sanitizer because I want to make sure to get off all of these splatter effects, and they tend to dry quickly, which is great when you're crafting, but when you're using any other work surface, you're like, uh-oh, now that's going to stain. Well, it doesn't on the glass mat. This is the biggest one. Oh my gosh, alcohol inks. If you've used alcohol inks on any other work surface other than glass, it stains 100%. There's just no getting around it. Alcohol ink is meant to work on things that are slick, and they can stay on things that are slick. So You would think that it would stain a glass mat, but it absolutely doesn't. But let's just have fun creating the background first. I love creating just sort of splatter effects and leaving some white space around them, because if you completely fill in the entire panel, sometimes it's like it's not even anything different than just creating a blended background. But if you can see the sort of blooming effect of the alcohol ink as it's working its way on the paper, that to me creates a more unique look and a more unique background that looks different than anything else that anybody else is creating, because it's unique to you. Everybody is going to create their own unique background using alcohol inks. It's always going to look a little bit different depending on where you place the ink and how you add a little mixative or anything else that you add to it. So here's my background. I am in love with this. And here's the hand sanitizer again. This was the original thing that I saw Tim Holtz clean off his glass mat with, was hand sanitizer. So I definitely grab a little bit of hand sanitizer, and then I'm using just a paper towel here, but you can use a rag or whatever you have, and just wipe it up. And the reason that, again, the hand sanitizer rather than straight rubbing alcohol is because it doesn't just pool all over the place and it's easier to get it up. How about adhesive? Yes, you can absolutely get adhesive on the mat. It can dry, you can still get it up, but here I'm going to try and get it up while it's still a little bit wet. That just makes it easier. And then all I'm doing here is using a wet wipe and just swiping it up, and it comes right off. Here I'll add just a little bit of glitter. That's the other thing. You can get glitter, embossing powder, anything else, and however you usually clean up those items, you can clean up on the glass mat and you'll get it right off and it will be just like brand new. What about red ink? Red ink is the big one, right? Because red ink really does stain pretty much anything. I did let that sit for a second so it would kind of dry a little bit more. And again, that is not a water reactive ink and it came right off. How about refills? These are Distress Oxide ink refills, so I'm sure you know these are the water reactive ones. They are going to come up easily, but I wanted to show you how you can use the surface itself to create a background. So put a bunch of refill down and do it in a kind of fun, organic looking pattern, and then place some paper down on top of it. Super fun, right? You could use this with paints as well. So it's kind of like having a press or something, and you're just creating these really fun artistic looking backgrounds. And I think that they look great. I know some people prefer to do that smush technique on something else, but for me, the glass mat works perfectly. I absolutely love it. And then the cleanup is so quick and so easy that it makes me actually want to do these techniques and not avoid them because of the mess, right? There would be things that I would be like on old work surfaces, like, ugh, should I put a piece of paper underneath? You know, that just doesn't work. But I want to turn these into cards just so that you can see I'm not going to just like make these random backgrounds and then not use them. So I have a bunch of Pretty Pink Posh stamps that I die cut out and colored to create this little beach scene. I had so much fun with this. I love the beach. It is my favorite place in the world. And I thought Wish You Were Here was the perfect sentiment for me because I wish I was there. So I did add a few shadows on the bottoms of these die cuts just so that they look kind of like they're sitting in the sand and a little dimensional. And this was the background that I created with my alcohol markers, and that's it, and a little bit of glitter and glue along the wave line. For this background was the stenciled background with Distress Oxide inks. I will cut this panel down to 4 by 5 1/4, use a little tape runner behind it and mat it on some pink cardstock. Again, I have a couple of Pretty Pink Posh stamps that I die cut out after coloring them. I love this little wreath because it has the wreath image, but then it also has these individual images that you can color and cut out and then pop up on top of the wreath. And then these are my favorite Pretty Pink Posh they're not sequins, they're confetti. So they have that really clear iridescent look to them. They shine and sparkle, and they add so much to a really pretty card like that. And then this background is the one that we created with Simon Hurley inks, these new Stellar inks, and a stencil from Pretty Pink Posh. And again, I have some individual images that I colored and die cut out, and then a sentiment that I cut with a banner flag. Again, I'll have all of those supplies linked in the description below so that you can check them out if you're interested in adding them and using them on your glass mat. For here, I have the alcohol ink background. I love the way it turned out. I'm so happy with it, and cut it down to 4 by 5.25 and just added some Good Vibes dies from Pretty Pink Posh on top. Next, we'll do the background that I did the smushing technique with the Distress Oxide refills. And again, I have a few underwater images from Pretty Pink Posh and some shells and corals and things like that. And then the sentiment is make a splash. Really fun. It does look like a wave or a splash of water. I hope you can see why I love my Glassboard Studio mat so much. Use it in every single craft that I'm creating and every single video that I film. Don't forget, if you use my coupon code Rebecca Keppel, you will be able to get 15% off your entire order. I want to thank Glassboard Studio so much for offering this to all of you, because I really love their product and I think you'll love it too. I want to thank you so much for stopping by and spending time with me today. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon.